So Troy Perlowitz from NHL Fantasy and Edge Stats for NHL and NHL.com. He is joining the show. What's going on, Troy?
How you doing, Ariel? Fellow hater of the doctor, by the way.
Of the what?
Of the doctor. I'm not a big fan of the doctor either. Doctors are good profession, but I'm not.
I have to literally so there's that machine for your blood pressure that they use now. That's like that automatic machine. The doctor has to use the old school machine on me because the high-tech machine always tells me that I'm having a panic attack. So the doctor can at least tell what my blood pressure. It's so bad.
And this time of year with all the playoffs,
she says, you should try your blood pressure at home. I go, honey, you don't understand. I watch sports all night and I gamble. Bad idea.
So not an extreme change of topics, but related, I'll take the family group chat last night to you. What is the best month of sports? Like if you came from a different
road, that's so subjective. I'm having a hard time with English today. I love September. And I know that's probably not the same for you, but I love September.
Well, September, you get all four, right? Like you get all four major sports going. Yeah,
it's also my birthday month. So I get the start of the NFL, which is fun. Major League Baseball is starting to wrap up, but you can still find gambling edges because it's not the playoffs yet. And those are my two favorite sports, and it's my birthday. But you also get, October is when it's MLB playoffs, football, basketball, hockey, everything's really starting in October, but then it's really starting to get cold.
So good points. And you're right. This is probably a very subjective thing. I don't sleep on May. I think May is a very underrated sports month because you get both playoff times. You might get the NFL draft, which is always fun. If you don't get the draft because it's in April, you still get OTAs and that could be fun too.
I agree. I was thinking about it that May is kind of an underrated sports month. I agree with you. And the weather's getting nicer.
So I'd probably go September as well, by the way. But
appreciate you.
But May and your birthday, of course, high on the list. But
birthday very high on the list. Let's get your thoughts before we go into props and everything going on tonight. Thoughts on last night and the blowout.
So I'm a big fan of Tom's. I'm going to disagree a little bit. I don't think that so it's one of those things where I think the underlying numbers of last night's game were not indicative of the score. Everyone looks at a 5-2 final and says Florida must have dominated the game. It really, Carolina really, I thought they did well. Our friends at Amazon have a great stat called Ice Tilt, which tries to quantify territorial momentum in a game and who has it. And Carolina dominated. They got into Florida's offensive zone, or they got into the offensive zone and kind of possessed the puck. They didn't really get any quality chances, and the quality ones they did get, they missed the net, or Sergei Bobrovsky made great saves. And on the other end, they only allowed two really high quality chances, and Florida scored on both of them. So I don't know if Carolina's done, but it's for Florida. Florida has been a juggernaut on the road in particular all postseason. They got by Tampa pretty steadily, and then the back-to-back 6-1 wins in Toronto to end that second round series, and then it started it off now with a 5-2 win. Florida's going to be tough to beat, but Carolina really had a good game. They just probably have to stick to that game plan and hope for a better result moving forward in the rest of the series.
So looking ahead to tonight's game, because tonight we've got the Dallas Stars laying -128 against the Edmonton Oilers, total 6.5. I think I have your thing. Hold on. I always mess this up. 1 second. Hold on. I'm terrible. I knew I was going to do that. Okay, this is the right game, right?
This is it.
Okay, that's what I thought. I was making sure. It was a good guess.
Pearls of Wisdom is great, too. That's
Thank
my
you.
dad's fantasy team.
You have your own segment now. Congratulations.
they say in boxing that styles make fights, and this Dallas Edmonton series is a really, it's going to be so much fun. I think it's going to be so much fun. You have so much star power in the game. You have obviously McDavid and Draisaitl on Edmonton side, and then Mikko Rantanen's kind of making a name for himself in this postseason. He's really doing well for Dallas. Dallas has the goaltending that Edmonton doesn't. That's certainly an advantage for Dallas. But Edmonton, so Zach Hyman, I love for an anytime goal scorer tonight. If there's one issue for Dallas is that they allow a lot of shots from the center of the ice, and that's exactly where Zach Hyman dominates. He's also been promoted to the first line to play alongside McDavid, so he's probably going to get more shots from that area of the ice. And something crazy about him, we just looked this up. He has 8 goals in his last 6 game ones. I'm not big onto looking at history when you're trying to make props, but that just seems like an absurd kind of trend. And so I certainly look at Zach Hyman tonight for a goal scorer. Thomas Harley's kind of been a breakout performer all postseason. He's a defenseman on Dallas. Miro Heiskanen is Dallas's number 1 defenseman, and he missed the early portion of the postseason. And it was Harley who had to take on an expanded role in his absence, and he did that in spades. He's got 11 points in 13 games so far in the postseason. He quarterbacks the power play, and Dallas's power play is the top-ranked power play in the postseason so far. And Edmonton's penalty kill, if they have a weakness, it's special teams. Especially on the penalty kill. So that's an area where Thomas Harley could certainly thrive. Evander Kane, I like for shots on goal. Evander Kane gets a lot of shots off the cycle. And if Dallas likes to defend off the rush, they have a lot of speed, so they could attack you off the rush and then have to defend it that way. Evander Kane is a guy who likes to get into the offensive zone. He's been playing with Leon Draisaitl in the last game. He took morning rushes off of that line, so I might like him a little bit less. But as long as he plays with Draisaitl, and by the way, Edmonton's coach likes to move players up and down the lineup. So Evander Kane can certainly find his way back on the line with Leon Draisaitl and certainly get shot. Leon Draisaitl is one of the best playmakers on Edmonton. He certainly likes to set up his line mates for shots, and Evander Kane he's gotten 7 shots in his last 2 games. I certainly like that trend for him to pick up at least 3 tonight.
What are you thinking on the series?
I like Edmonton. I picked Edmonton at the start of the playoffs to win I came on with you. I told you I liked Edmonton a lot. They dominate from in front of the net. It's kind of, we saw it last night. 5 of the 7 goals in last night's game came right in front of the net. Edmonton, not only do they score from there, they defend that area of the ice really well. So I really like them to win the series. The one exception I'll give you is if the series gets to 7 games, Dallas has home ice. Their coach is 9-0. Pete DeBoer is 9-0 in game 7s all time. It's a crazy stat. So I think if the series goes 7, I would take Dallas, but I like Edmonton at the start of this. I think they're gonna win. I like them in 6 games. I think they have the higher end power, higher end talent. I'll also say this about Connor McDavid. He just seems like he's on a mission. He's so much faster than anyone left in the playoffs. It's not even remotely close. And I just don't think he's going to let his team lose the way he's been playing. So I certainly think that Edmonton takes it and they'll advance to their 2nd straight.
How about for someone to lead in goals in the series?
So, I actually like everyone will laugh. It's the best player in the world. Why would you? There's no value there to take him for most goals in the series. I like McDavid's prop to lead the series. He only has 3 goals so far in the playoffs, but his shooting metrics are actually up. So he's actually a little bit snake bitten. He should have more goals based on the quality of the chances he's getting. So I certainly think that he's bound to pop off one of these and go on some sort of heater. It could be now, could be in
right. Like everyone always has some kind of great series.
Yeah. So I certainly think that he's if Edmonton's going to go advance further on, you would think that their best players need to be their best. Edmonton's kind of gotten to this point with a lot of secondary scoring. I don't know how much that if their secondary scoring dries up, they're going to need those top players to perform well, and McDavid's certainly in the front of the line on that one.
All right, plus 425 in that range. You can look at things for the futures market. Let's take a look at tomorrow because we've got the Panthers and the Canes again. Canes minus 128 on the money line at home, 5.5 point total. You're looking at Jarvis, 3 or more shots on goal in game 2. Why?
Yeah, I like the Canes. Like I said, I think the Canes need to stick to their game plan. Seth Jarvis plays on that top line for Carolina with Sebastian Aho and Andrei Svechnikov. And he had 5 shot attempts last night. 4 of them went on net. So he went over his shot prop total in game 1. He plays like this. He's not a very big player, but he's not afraid to go into the front of the net and to get to those dirty areas of those greasy areas on the ice. So he usually takes a shot and then gets his own rebounds too. So I certainly like Jarvis to go over a shot prop total. I think Carolina is going to come out. They're going to stick to their game plan. They enter the zone and they take shots. That's exactly what they do. They had 33 shots yesterday that went on net. I expect them to do much of the same in game 2. Eetu Luostarinen is a player that not a lot of people are familiar with for Florida. He plays on their third line with Anton Lundell and Brad Marchand, and he's the only player in the top 15 of scoring in the playoffs that doesn't have a point on the power play. He plays doesn't play a lot of power play minutes. He's only on the even strength. But he's a menace. He goes similar to Jarvis, he goes to the front of the net, stays there. And Florida leads the NHL this postseason in passes completed to the slot. So they love going and whether they set up their offense and they love passing to the puck right into the middle of the ice. They find those soft areas of the defense and they usually get shots in. So Luostarinen scored in his last game. He only needs one more goal to hit his over for the prop for the series. I kind of like him moving forward.
Wow, that's pretty crazy already that he could hit his prop in the series.
Yeah, I think he's not a lot of Florida's so deep. They have 12 players with at least 6 points so far in the playoffs. Like no other team has more than 9. That's like they're very deep. If I'm looking for a future for the Conn Smythe on Florida, that's very tough because there's just not a lot you could really they're just a deep team, and it's really tough to choose one.
You did look at 2 different players for the Conn Smythe, McDavid, Ottinger. Why is there value still on McDavid at plus 350? Because obviously it's not a lot of value, but clearly in your eyes you think it's worthwhile.
I'd grab McDavid at that number now because I think it's only going to get more expensive as we go on and into the playoffs. Like I've said, his performance is one thing, but the value right now I think is why I would select McDavid. If you are looking for a little bit of a long shot, Jake Ottinger of the Dallas Stars is probably the best. I guess Sergei Bobrovsky wouldn't like me saying this, but I think Ottinger is probably the best goalie remaining in the playoffs. And if Dallas is going to beat Edmonton, he's going to have to be at the top of his game. He's already, he got through Connor Hellebuck in the last round. So he arguably beat the best goalie in the NHL already. And now he's got a tenacious offense in Edmonton going against him. I just think if Dallas were to advance to the Stanley Cup final, he will have to be a factor in that series. And then I like his value moving forward into the final.
Speaking of the final, it's pretty crazy that when you look at the odds, you're not getting much longer than 10-1 on any of these exact results to happen. So who would you say is a matchup that, like, how would you see this going in the finals? Who beating who? Who's going to be there?
Well, so I really think the NHL really lucked out, or they really did luck out with the series that we got. We got 2 evenly matched conference finals. I think Edmonton they're minus 110 for the series when it opened. Carolina, Florida was pretty similar. It got very even matchups, which everyone would think would be long series. I like Edmonton coming out of the West. I like the champs. I still think Florida comes away with it. I'd like them in 6 or 7 games. I'll take them in 7. So I think we're going to end up with a repeat, as much as people might not like that. But we just had the Stanley Cup final go 7 games with Florida and Edmonton. Who wouldn't want to see part 2 of that matchup coming up? So that would be my pick in the final. And then to put a different spin on it, I think Edmonton finally gets Canada's first Stanley Cup since 1993. They were my pick at the start because of their dominance in front of the net. I think that's what wins in the playoffs, and I'll stick with them. I think they win the Stanley Cup this year.
Troy Perlowitz coming in from NHL.com. Thank you so much for joining the show. As always, your insight is so needed because it is the one sport that I just cannot seem to figure out. And you gave us some awesome props. So thank you again for coming on.
Anytime. Let's go Knicks tonight, right?
Let's go Knicks. Let's go Knicks. We need the party to keep going here in New York.
I wouldn't mind that at all.
I love it. Thanks so much, Troy. I'll speak to you soon.
Sounds great.